Okay. We're on. We're good. Great podcast. Love it here. Deacon Ray Abbott. It's been a while. Hope all of you are doing well. And I'm talking to exclusively my pals on GETTR. If you're not on GETTR, you might as well just, hit the stop button. This isn't for you. This is the Great Podcast Love It special GETTR edition, where only the real posters go. Anyway, if you're not on GETTR, it's the new social media app. It's hot, slick interface. It's the place to be. You're all going to end up there anyway, so you may as well download it. It's an easy setup. Get on. Twitter has become trash, and I think we've pretty much accomplished our goal of destroying that website. It took a long time, but it's on its way out. GETTR is the new hot thing. So it's been a while. I don't think I've put on a show since right before I went on vacation, and that was an absolute nightmare. I mean, not even getting, to the destination. I mean, that was enough just being there on vacation, but just the act of getting there, that made me just want to turn around. I mean, I almost didn't even leave. We had the 2 vans packed because, got a lot of people that was going. And before I even got a mile down the road to the gas station, top off before we made a trek down to Emerald Isle, my alternator just went shot. Just gone. So it's 10:30 on Sunday. It's already getting hot. Van full of kids, women, and fully packed, ready for a 7-day trip to the beach. And your battery's dead, alternator's gone. Have to get a tow. Had to get everything out. Had to call every rental place around. Found one place that had a van. Got there within the last minute. They ripped me off. I think I ended up paying like $700. It's just highway robbery, but at that point it was I was Clark from Family Vacation. No matter what, this vacation had to happen just out of spite. So I've already, before I even left, I've spent $700 plus to rent a van. The alternator ended up costing about $500 to get put on. I'm $1,200 in the hole before I even get out of the county. But we get down there finally, and I don't know if anyone else has ever taken a bunch of kids to the beach, but at least dads out there, you realize that all you are is a lifeguard. This is not a vacation. This is work. You constantly have to make sure that one of these little runts doesn't just get washed away. And Emerald Isle isn't the most gentle of waters. It's, the island, if anyone knows about it, it goes east to west. So you have waves coming in both angles. It's almost a built-in, just going to be crashing constantly unless you have an especially smooth day. So, between chaperoning to all these little attractions and things to do, and constantly have to be out on this insanely hot beach, chasing kids, not enjoying yourself whatsoever. The only time you get to cool down, it's after everyone's asleep and you're too tired to do anything. I think I cast out one line to go fishing the entire trip. So, but hey, at least I had, that 1 hour to enjoy myself. I have 7 whole days and what was it? 500-mile trip. I have 1 hour to kick back, cast a line, and pour myself a milky sunrise and enjoy the good life. So what's been going on in the world? People still freaking out about COVID. I haven't seen it. The variant is supposed to be driving us insane. I know for us it's not, but I think slowly even the normies are getting bored with it. You're not seeing dead bodies in the streets, and none of the quote facts are adding up. And it's slowly starting to look like the media and the system itself is going to turn on Tony Fauci, which don't buy into it. For as much as he is to blame, never take the side of the media, no matter what. They're always garbage. The media is always the enemy of the people. Never forget it. They're to blame for all of this. They need a scapegoat. They're always looking for scapegoats, where it's a group or a person or an idea or a statement. Never let the media get away with anything. That's the only thing that Twitter's good for anymore, is attacking the media and coffee tweets. Outside of that, you got to get on GETTR. That's going to be the new place. That's where we're going to end up having fun. And eventually, I think, snuffing out the media. That should be the goal. Leave them feeling isolated and make them come to you. I mean, politically, there's no future. But now it gets to be the game that we always, at least I know a good group of people knew before Trump came around, that the media was trash, and once again you saw no political answers. So you just attack them, you laugh at them, you make fun of them, you make their evil jobs harder to do, make them less bearable, make them less profitable. If you can take away their views, you take away their money, you take away their relevance, that's when they suffer. See, John McAfee is still dead. He hasn't popped up yet. And for what it's worth, he killed himself. This isn't even Epstein questionable. He saw the writing on the wall and he took himself out. He was an absolute atheist, hedonist, who was rational about it. At least he made his godlessness have some appeal, at least look logical. Just live insane as possible, ride it out, and when it's no longer fun, call it quits. But unfortunately, I have every reason to assume John McAfee in hell with Donald Rumsfeld. So, poor company. Chirp, chirp, you heathens. Who's making good tweets? I'll tell you who's making good tweets. Our good friend Max at Caratanzio. Our Italian friend. Or so he says. I mean, he always posts the Italian memes out there. And I'll take his word for it. Who would lie about that? But Max has been having a big week on the .com. Just about 3 days ago, he put out an interactive tweet talking about, like this tweet, and I'll tell you how mentally ill you are on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being normal, 10 being very mentally ill. Now, Max is a man of his word. When he says he's going to do it, he probably only expects maybe 10, 15 likes, very close mutuals, but he got the infamous old person online retweet and wound up with about 485 likes. And he was a trooper for the first 150 or so. But then he caved. But who could blame him? But good troll from old person online. Everybody loves politics. But I think the more recent one that Max has been stirring up the timeline with is a poll he put out. It says here, you're trapped in a room the size of half a basketball court. And it's a fight to the death. What are you picking? Option A, 2 gray wolves. Option B, 5 wolverines. Option C, 1 leopard. And option D, 124 coons. Well, he has raccoons here, but no one actually says raccoons, just as you don't say opossum, you call it a possum, and you call raccoons coons. Now, this has stirred the pot, and people are going crazy over it. And I just had to break this down. This is a very simple choice. I mean, realistically, you're going to wind up dead either way. But if you just going to go for the Hail Mary, these are all bad choices. 2 gray wolves, that was picked the least. People have the built-in instinct to know you can't fight a wolf, and you especially can't fight 2. I mean, it's ingrained in us, even in our fairy tales and old stories. Little Red Riding Hood, 3 Little Pigs. I mean, the wolf is, the boy who cried wolf. I mean, it's built in. You're not going to win it with wolves, and people are smart enough to know that. Let's see. Third most votes was 5 wolverines. Wolverines are notorious, just vicious creatures. You wouldn't last with 1. So 5, it's a quick, painful death. Then, with the second most votes is 1 leopard. We'll get back to that. But the most votes, people who out of all these choices are going to fight, 124 coons. Truly, truly stupid people on the timeline voting on this. Most of you couldn't fight 1 coon without crying. And as a man who's, since I was age 3, in the woods at night, hunting with my dad, going through the woods, dogs, treeing coons, knocking them out the trees, I've seen how tough these little bastards are. You're going to have a hard time killing 1. I mean, you could probably do it. It's going to gnaw your arm. It might bite a finger off. But in the death fight, a grown man probably stomp a coon out. But 124, you don't have the stamina. You're going to give up. Most of you are fat. No cardio. You just ain't got the fight and that killer in you. And I couldn't kill 124 coons. Without a gun? No. It's ridiculous. So it leaves one obvious answer. You pick 1. The 1 leopard. Leopard's a killer. You probably don't stand a chance, but at least you got a fighting chance 1-on-1. Maybe you can duck under its head. Maybe you can grab a leg, bend it backwards. dislocate something, put it in some meal pain where it can't get to you, where it wants to run away. Don't go for the mouth. If you can get around its neck, go for it. I would suggest breaking a leg, though, because if you can get behind it, get a little bit of a half Nelson, you just really crank that arm, maybe you got a shot.
Mambo Italiano, go, go, go. You mixed up a Siciliano. All you Calabrese do the mambo like a crazy with a hey mambo. Don't wanna tarantella, hey, hey mambo. No more mozzarella, hey mambo. Mambo Italiano, try an angelada with.
Let's see what else he's putting out there. Don't acknowledge small accounts too often, or they might start to get the idea they're funny. So true, Max. Leave it to the pros.
Mambo Italiano, hey mambo. Mambo Italiano, go, go, Joe. Shake it like a Giovanna. Hello, kiss it, did you get happy in
a lot of picture tweets. I can't put those over on the cast. Reminder, we're in the midst of a global pandemic with a vicious Delta strain running rampant, and you should not be having fun right now. Does this guy ever miss? Yeah, occasionally, but for the most part, it's good. So, chirp chirp, that's who's putting out good tweets.
Mambo Italiano, ho, ho, ho. You mixed up a Siciliano. Hello, kiss it, did you get happy in the pizza when you Mambo Italiano?
Oh, and speaking of good tweets, I have to say, I am not getting the respect I'm owed. Just last week, I put out, a perfectly placed tweet. It was interactive. I'll read it to you. It's very simple. It's a setup. I said, who's that actor with a lazy eye? Very simple. Now, I knew somebody was going to come with the right answer. And of course, my good friend Hanzo replied, Forrest Whitaker? And yeah, that's who it is. But what's my reply? No, he's black. He has a lazier eye. It was a joke setup, perfectly laid out, perfectly executed, and what I get, nothing. So you should always scroll back, give it likes, give it the retweets it's owed, because it's the right thing to do. In fact, you could go back over all my tweets. They deserve a lot more. And you know it's true. All right, and now is the segment where I rank the guests. We're on episode 11. 10 shows posted. All been guests. This one's solo. And I want to go back over because I've had a hell of a time doing this. First show was, I can't go as soon as Allison. Everyone loves her. Everyone knows her. You know who she is. Then the champ, who for the longest time was the number one show. He promoted it, full of energy, had a good time, despite probably 20 minutes of the show, just him rambling on about soap operas, while I'm chasing a child my child that was running around the porch in the middle of winter. But I think he was number one for the longest time until episode 10 with the Arkansas rebel himself, the Tan Man, Brando, Casey, Tanner, and I think he just passed him by a few. But we're going to get Sloth back on. He's going to end up doubling his numbers because he truly is one of the one of just better personalities, outgoing guy. He enjoys himself, and he doesn't know a stranger. He puts on the tough exterior, but it's very easy guy to get along with. And we had Jeb. That was a great one. Had an anonymous guest. I still keep anonymity, even though I think it was ridiculous. No reason to. But, I mean, considering all he had to do was use a pseudonym. McCall had a big show. I did catch flack that I clearly wasn't tough enough on him, but I think we're going to get him back on to answer some questions. I've got a few for him already. Apparently he crashed crypto last week. Some people say he kills his dog. He's killing his dog slowly. And he got into quite a bit of controversy over gratuity and tips in the service industry, which he was in the right on, but apparently, I mean, he's a heat magnet. You know, since first show, my idea was always to have a guest on, have a conversation with friends that we know, just really almost like not an inside joke, but an inside show, just for coffee Twitter, for the cool kids. Something we could enjoy, something, if anything, just keep things entertaining online. But for this show, I'm going solo, obviously. And having never done that, all I can think about is like, well, talk about something you know. And one thing I do know is work and jobs. But for this, jobs. And what's the worst jobs you've ever had? What's the worst job? I mean, was it the job itself? Was it who you're working with? But I know mine because, I don't know, last week or so I was taking a different route around town, and I rode past former work site. It was past a rail yard. Back when I was about 20, I was 20. I was desperate for a job, so I took one at a company that was at the time called Auto Rail, and I'll give you the basic rundown of it. Norfolk Southern would contract this company to unload cars from train carts. The trains would come from the manufacturers to Winston-Salem, or just outside, and they'd unload all the carts with cars that would go to North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee, and Georgia. I don't believe Alabama. I think it's just those 5 states. So, but that's a lot of new cars. And this job was, it was the high as far as North Carolina went. Where you could look through, I forget which organization it was, but they put out the top 10 most highest turnover rates for employers, and Auto Rail was number 1. This contractor through Norfolk Southern. This job was terrible. I can give you a rundown, like the day, just how it would start. You got there at 6 a.m. Typically 6 a.m. Some days they'd ask you to come in earlier if the train they knew was coming in earlier in the morning. But you would get there at 6. Now, you wouldn't clock in necessarily. You couldn't clock in until the train arrived. So you could get there at 6 and you might not clock in until 9. You're just sitting in your truck, smoking, hating life, Others were doing early morning activities. Well, I ain't gonna lie, I was too. Smoking weed, you might crack a few beers. Just depends how long you're gonna wait. But you'll understand why, as I get into detail of this, why you would want to be inebriated for this job. Because driving intoxicated was, I won't say it was fun at the time. But, so get to the point when the train arrived, then you go and clock in. You ran a short little meeting. You went over how many carts were there, how many bi-levels, how many tri-levels. Some with, the bigger vehicles, you'd have, one top level, one lower. It could be 10 carts long. It could be 40 carts long. You just didn't know. And then you'd have the tri-levels for the coupes and the smaller cars. So you'd have 3 levels of vehicles stacked in each cart. I think it'd probably, you could fit 5 in a row, so you get 15 on one of those carts. Either way. So you'd start out on the bottom level, and you would have to, they have all the wheels chalked. So you'd pair up with someone. You'd be on the left side, they'd be on the right side. And what you do is you'd have to duck down. And I'm talking about the tri-levels here. You have to duck down because they were only like 5.5 feet high. So if you had any height to you, you had to duck the entire way through. You'd kick these chalks out, and hopefully they all came out right. Pick them up, throw them out. And someone would be on the outside collecting those chalks and throwing them on the van. Now I'm trying to set the stage here. You're on a massive parking lot. You're a victim to the weather. If it's raining, doesn't matter. 100 degrees, doesn't matter. 20 degrees, whatever. So you're doing this in spite of where the weather is, and you're running through. And once you get all those, everyone circles back around, and then you start unloading the cars and parking them in their spaces. Then after that, you go up to the second level. Once you get second level, you have to start stacking these plates in between the carts. And just so, because the cars had to go, if you was on the back cart, you still had to make your way to the front, and they would have a mobile ramp that would, so you could get down. But you had to put these plates in between. These are 50-pound steel plates because, these are vehicles and they need something sturdy to go over. Now you're driving these cars through these tunnels. That's what these carts are. They're just very compact tunnels. There's no room for error. 5 inches one way or the other, and you could wind up with a wheel off of one of these plates, and then you have a car hanging between 2 rail cars. I've seen it happen. And that is a mess you don't have to clean up. But usually things went smooth, despite all the meth heads, the crack heads, whatever substance people were on. And most people would just pass out somewhere. But so you get these cars, you park it. So when you park it, you have to wait. There's a van constantly driving around the parking lot, and as that van moves, you run, you jump on. They'd have a handle on the back of the van. They'd have the doors ripped off. You jump on it, and they drive you back, and then over and over and over. And now I've done this job for, it's hard to look back because I've had so many jobs, but I think I've done it for 3-4 months until one day, as we were finishing up a set of carts, you'd have to close them back up. And these were 500-pound doors. They left side, right side. They slide in together, and then you lock it. Well, I was having a difficult time with one of the cart doors, and I'm pulling. I can't get it, so I get my hand up under it, my left hand, and I lift up just slightly on it, and it slides like it's on ice. And when that happens, my left hand's still under it, and my index finger ended up getting jammed between the door and one of the best way to describe it, like a lock socket. It's just metal on metal, and my finger is smashed and trashed in between this. And as soon as I look at it, I pick the door up, I move it over, and I look at my finger, and I'm seeing bone and cartilage and finger dangling, and I pretty much go into full adrenaline mode. I take my shirt off, wrap it around it. I run across the parking lot to the office trailer and tell them, hey, I need to go to the doctor. And they asked me, well, do you want to drive yourself? I'm like, I don't know how to explain this, that my finger is smashed and it's fallen off. So they end up getting one of the crew leaders drive me to the emergency room. And, well, long story short, 6 weeks later, my finger finally heals. It's not extremely deformed, but it was black, and even the black nurse lady that was at the hospital said, "Oh, girl, you gonna lose that finger." So, well, thanks, but either way, I kept it after 13 stitches and a lot of super glue that I was putting on it just to hold it together. But needless to say, they done a drug test. I not only lost the job, which, hey, no problem there, but I didn't even get to collect any unemployment or any, hey, I was injured on the job. Like, sucks to be you. So, but of the dozens of jobs I've had, that one just had to be the worst. I mean, not even for the injury, just the waking up. I mean, I don't know how they stayed in business. I think even now they've changed ownership and company names, but it was truly, I mean, everyone that worked there sucked. I mean, even I sucked then. I mean, if you're working that trash job for $7.50 an hour, you're just not really hitting on much in life. But I mean, through the physical torment, the mental torture of, I mean, they even had the offices microphoned. If you were complaining, don't be surprised next day you get brought in, and they're very specific about what they're bringing you in for. I mean, it was just a nightmare of a job. But I'm thinking, if any of my mutuals out here, any of the friends of the show have had any trash jobs, let me know. Call in. Just let everyone know about it. I think everyone can relate to that one. All right. Before I wrap the show up, I'd be remiss if I didn't read some of the highlights from our new sponsor, GETTR, GETTR, the hot new social media app. Just going to read some of this gold on here. Jebediah 420 says, GETTR is the most important thing in my life currently. Hanzo says, I threw my family out in the street today so I could have more time to focus on my GETTR account. Hey, it's Logan says, you have to be pretty good at the internet to thrive on GETTR. Buck says, whenever I log in and see my mutuals getting, I am filled with joy. Same here, Buck. LMOA says, GETTR saved my life. So true. So true. Buck again, I was nothing without this place. Here's one for me. I love all my new bot followers. I will lead you to the GETTR revolution. But seriously, folks, GETTR sucks, but it's supposed to suck. It doesn't even offer anything unique. It's not, you can't even call it stripped down Twitter, because the only appeal to Twitter was the fact that people were there. Now, granted, Coffee GETTR is going to be the trendsetter, and people will eventually be there, and slowly the app will get better. But right now, all it's trying to be is a Twitter knockoff. And if you can't be better, you got to be different. I don't know who runs GETTR. I'm not going to look into it, and I'm not going to offer them advice. I mean, it's just pearls to swine. But, you know, you've got to... If somebody wants to compete with Twitter, you're going to have to offer something that you're not going to find somewhere else. And I just don't think being like Parler was, or Gab is being the politically aligned or some form of political alliance. Social media is not appealing because people want to argue. People want to see the drama. People want to trash celebrities. They want to quote tweet or somehow quote or interact with newspapers and news sites and whatever. So, I mean, the only thing that made Twitter popular is the fact that celebrities and different outlets were saying, hey, come look at our Twitter. So, but I don't think GETTR's ever going to get that because, you know, it was probably just marketing. Twitter was smart enough that, hey, we'll give you X amount of dollars if you talk about us on your podcast. It probably was Joe Rogan, who was a big proponent, and, you know, just different personalities. But if you're not offering something different, there's no reason why people would just go there. I mean, I don't even see the appeal of Instagram. I mean, just more pictures. I mean, you can post pictures on Twitter. So, but yeah, GETTR's trash, but you should still make a account because you just never know. It might get good. I don't know. But either way, I'm going to call that a show. We'll see you guys online. God bless. Take care.